Alrighty, so I'm going to give you a really quick tutorial on how to edit a podcast in Logic. So we're going to open a new project, empty project. I'm going to make 2 audio tracks. Just like Pro Tools, you can drag and drop your tracks right in here. Super easy. Little quick tips you're going to need to know in Logic. There's a couple zoomer inners, that's what you want to call them right here, so you can make them bigger, smaller to see that. Another way to zoom in on Logic, which is quicker than doing that, if you hold down the Control and Option button on your keyboard at the same time, if you look at my mouse, it becomes a little magnifying glass, and you can draw a box around where you want to zoom in, and you can zoom in real close right there. If you want to get out of it, hit the Control Option buttons again. Shows you the zoom button. Just click once and it'll bring you right back out. As far as tools go, when you're editing, you have options to 2 quick tools at a time. Both of them will show up in the corner here. These are just what they come up as normally. If you click the little arrow, it gives you all these options to use when you're working. So the one on the left-hand side here that's showing, this is going to be the one that's always up when you have nothing pressed. The one on the back half, you can access by clicking the command button or the Apple button on your computer. You see how it changes over if I hold it down. So normally when I have this set when I'm working, it's easier to have the marquee tool selected on your first one, and then a fade tool, because that's the ones you're probably going to be using most. So when you select things, you can do that, and then come in and put a fade somewhere. As far as groupings go, you have to group your 2 tracks together. So you can come over into your mixer. So here are your 2 tracks. Underneath Audio 1 and Audio 2, there's these little boxes, and this is where you can select your groups. So you go in here, select Group 1. You're going to need this box, but if it doesn't show you up, I'll show you how to access that. Come into 2, pick the same thing. So now both your tracks are grouped under Group 1. So if that box doesn't happen to come up, you can go in again, click the box. It says Open Group Settings. You're going to need this little guy out when you're doing something. You go back to the other screen here. Underneath settings right here, it says editing selection. You need that selected when you're editing something out. So if I highlight this, even though we already grouped them both, it doesn't select them both. It only selects one. So when I have the editing selection button, you don't need the phase locked audio. That just, see the green cue here, it just allows you to quantize. So you don't really need that selected at all. But when you do have the editing selection button clicked, now it will highlight both, so that when you get rid of something, it will get rid of both at the same time. Even though they're grouped, you still have to have the editing button checked, so you can't forget that. Apple Z or Command Z will undo. You saw how I deleted that and it stayed there. You need to go over to the drag section up in the corner here. It says overlap. You don't want to do that right now. You want to shuffle everything to the left, so that when I come back here and delete this, it automatically shifts over to the left. So we'll undo that right now. Let's see, go back to my pointer tool. If you wanted to split something off, I believe your podcast starts somewhere over here. Let me get there. All right, let's see. Okay, see, that's another thing. You have to make sure you're clicked on in a certain spot.
Ow. I love it when a song begins to...
Okay, so we're back here a little bit.
Recording studio. Hey everybody, it's...
Alright, so right here. So I'm back on the pointer tool here. When you have your cursor, your meter lined up somewhere, if you hit the split by playhead button right up here, it'll split the regions right off. You can't do that when you're using the marquee tool. You can only be in the pointer tool. Have them both selected. So we'll get rid of your intro there, kind of scroll back to the beginning. I have my fade tool on the left, so you hit the command button. It shows you, I can, come in and put a fade tool right there, things like that. If you want to zoom in, you can hit the Control and Option button together, select a box, and you can zoom in to see something really quick. So if you need to ever come in and edit anything out, here, put the marquee tool back on. You can come in, select it, get rid of it, do whatever you have to do, and then Control Option again for it to show up. Click once, and it'll bring you right back out. Otherwise, you can use your fancy little zoomers down here. Let's see, what else you're gonna have to know. That's pretty much almost everything. If you're going along, Command S is a save, Command Z is undo. If you want to make a marker, if you're going along and you want to mark something, you can hit Control K. Oh, that was not Control K, that was Command K. Control K shows a marker here. Oh, so wherever your little arrow is right here when you're going along, Control K. So then when you come back to it, you can look at what you're doing. If you don't do Control K, you can go under Global Tracks here, under Marker, and then create another marker. That's kind of the long way to do it, and it gives you more room here. So let's see, let's just go in and see if anything needs to be edited out really quick, and I can show you. We'll kind of zoom in a little bit, blow up everything a little bit more.
Podcast bringing you inside the recording studio. I created this show to introduce you to real-world recording professionals, to hear their stories and learn from their experiences so that you can take your records to the next level and become a rock star of the recording studio yourself. My guest today is Kern Ramsdell, a music lover and creator of Home Recording Weekly, where his goal is to share everything that he learns about writing, playing, recording.
All right, so say I want to take this little space out here. So I have editing selection, everything's together. You can come in, just delete it, hit the Command button for your little fade tool, select an area, do a crossfade, Command S, it'll come up and save it. That's basically all you're gonna have to do when you keep going. So when you play over it,
playing, recording,
I mean, everything's right there. I think that's about everything you have to know. One other quick thing. If you wanted, say he had a blurb here and you wanted to mute him out, you'd have to come and uncheck the editing selection button so they are not together. So you can come in. Also, if you highlight something with this little marker button like that and double click or click with 2 fingers, it'll automatically, separate the sections. You can right click and hit mute or just M on your keyboard and it'll mute that little selection so when you're going through. But don't forget to come back and reselect your editing so when you have to come out and delete something else that it'll shift back with it. I think that's pretty much everything you have to know. If you need to know anything else from me, just let me know. Thanks.